Okay, this morning we are going to look at pioneer legislation. We are going to look at pioneer legislation. Pioneer legislation. That is the topic we are looking at this morning. Pioneer legislation. Pioneer legislation is called tax incentive, tax holiday, tax incentive. So basically, the summary of this topic is that for government to encourage exportation, to encourage increase in manufacturing, to discourage exportation, to ensure that we have favorable foreign exchange rates, government will like to attract some foreign investors, foreign direct investment to come and invest in Nigeria so that they can start manufacturing. So once they start manufacturing, the manufacturing that they produce will contribute to our economic growth and development. Some of the products that we are using in Nigeria, or most of the goods and service, most of the goods we are consuming in Nigeria, they are imported products, which in the long run is affecting our GDP and is having effects on our local currency, because we need to be sourcing for foreign currency to acquire those goods. So as a result of that, it's affecting us. So this pioneer incentive means a tax incentive or tax relief granted by Nigeria government to a multinational company or to a local company where their profit will be exempted from tax. Their profit will be exempted from tax for certain period of time. What are the certain period of time the profit will be exempted from tax? First, the initial pioneer period is 3 years and additional of 2 years, making it 5 years. The extension of that 2 years is subject to satisfactory performance. The extension of the 2 years is subject to satisfactory performance. So what pioneer incentive simply means is a tax relief or tax exemption granted by Nigeria government to a qualified multinational investment project or to a company where their profit will be exempted from tax. Their profit is going to be exempted from tax for an initial period of how many years? 3 years. And it can be after the expiration of the 3 years, within 1 month, you can apply for extension of additional 2 years. That extension of additional 2 years is subject to a satisfactory performance. The extension of additional 2 years is subject to what? A satisfactory performance. So that is what pioneer incentive really means. So why does government grant pioneer incentive to a company? Why? One of the objectives for granting pioneer incentive is to attract foreign direct investment. To attract what? Foreign direct investment. So pioneer incentive will attract foreign direct investment. Another one is pioneer incentive will also contribute to economic growth and development. It will contribute to economic growth and development. And pioneer incentive will also develop export-oriented industry. It will develop export-oriented industry. That means Nigeria will be among the top exporting country will be exporting. By the time they start producing what they are importing now, they start producing it in Nigeria. It will create value to us. First value is we will not be importing again. The second value is we will be exporting those products to the neighboring country. That will have positive impact on our GDP. So that is another objective of pioneer incentive. Another objective of pioneer incentive is employment generation. By the time more companies come to Nigeria to come and invest, there will be more employment generation. The citizen, the resident of Nigeria will be able to get more employment. So those new companies that we want to give them tax incentive that they should come and invest in Nigeria, by the time they started production, it will create a lot of employment opportunity to people. A lot of employment opportunity, either direct employment or indirect employment. So it will contribute a lot of employment opportunity to the citizen. So it's another objective of pioneer incentive. Aside from that, what are the other objective of pioneer incentive? Other objective of pioneer incentive is that it's going to contribute to value creation. Is going to added value creation. Pioneer incentive is going to added value creation to the business environment. It will added value creation to the business environment. So more value will be created, quality product will be produced. So another objective is to ensure that there's a local content, to promote local content art. Local content art means we should be using made in Nigeria product. Pioneer incentive will promote local content art. That means the material we are using to produce goods in Nigeria, they are made up, they are extracted from Nigeria, and the goods are produced in Nigeria. So it will develop or promote local content art. Pioneer incentive will develop or promote local content art. So all these are objective of pioneer incentive. Like I said, number one objective of pioneer incentive is to attract foreign direct investment. To attract foreign direct investment. Number two objective of pioneer incentive is to contribute to economic growth and development. While number three is to promote export-oriented industry. To promote export-oriented industry. Number four of pioneer incentive is to create employment opportunity. Is to create employment opportunity. Value creation too is another objective of pioneer incentive. Value creation is also another objective of pioneer incentive. Aside that, the last one is to develop or promote local content art. To develop or promote local content art. All these are the reasons or objective for granting pioneer incentive. Like I said, pioneer period covered initial period of how many years? 3 years. Pioneer period covered initial period of 3 years, and it is subject to satisfactory performance, in a sense that after the expiration of the 3 years, you can extend it to additional 2 years. The additional of the 2 years is subject to what? Satisfactory performance. So that is what the period is really talking about. So it's for the initial period of 3 years, and it is subject to extension of additional 2 years. Their extension of the additional 2 years is subject to satisfactory performance. So, and if you want to extend it to additional 2 years, within 1 month after the expiration of the initial 3 years, you have to apply for extension of additional 2 years. So, and during the pioneer period, that company giving the pioneer certificate will now be exempted from company income tax. They will not pay company income tax. They will not pay petroleum. They will not pay education tax. So any other tax that company pay, they will be exempted. They will not pay it for that 3 years or for 5 years. So that is the thing. So another thing we need to understand is for agro-allied company, agricultural company, they will be given initial period of 5 years. The pioneer period, the initial period for agri company is 5 years initial, and is subject to additional 2 years extension. That means for agro-allied company, their own period initial is 5 years. Extension is 2 years, making 7 years. Now, what we also need to understand in this pioneer incentive is there are three regulatory authority as regards to pioneer incentive. Pioneer incentive, in another way, we can call it tax holiday. Tax holiday. Tax holiday simply means for certain period of time, company will be exempted from payment of tax. For certain period of time, company they will be exempted from what? Payment of tax. So that is what pioneer incentive simply means. So now, who are the regulatory authority or relevant authority regarding pioneer incentive? Majorly, there are three relevant agency or regulatory agency as regards to pioneer incentive. Number one of them is called Federal Ministry of Industry. Number one of them is called Federal Ministry of Industry. That is number one regulatory authority of pioneer incentive. While number two regulatory authority of pioneer incentive is called NIPC, Nigeria Investment Promotion Council. Nigeria Investment Promotion Council, NIPC. So they are the number two authority of pioneer incentive. While number three is Federal Inland Revenue Service. Federal Inland Revenue Service. So those are the three major regulatory authority of pioneer incentive. So another thing we need to look at in this pioneer incentive is, let's look at the procedure for application for pioneer status or procedure for application for pioneer certificate, which is called pioneer incentive. What are the procedure if you want to apply for pioneer incentive? What are the steps or procedure involved for application for pioneer incentive? Number one is application must be made in written for pioneer status. The company that want to apply for that pioneer incentive, he must make the application in written. To who? That application must be addressed to NIPC. NIPC means Nigeria Investment Promotion Council. That application must be addressed to NIPC, which is Nigeria Investment Promotion Council. Nigeria Investment Promotion Council. Somebody raised a concern now, which I need to address. He sent a message. The person sent a message that, this is unfair. The class supposed to start by 10:30 a.m. when the class changed to 9 a.m. Why do we like to do things this way? Please, it's not like I'm sorry for that, but the major problem is I have physical lecture. My physical lecture start from 1:30 p.m. So if I start my class with you people by 10:30, if I close by 12, so from where I'm staying to the VI, to our VI center is far. So for me getting there, I will get there around to 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So it's something else. So that is the reason why I sent a message to the group chat last week that please, so the class have to be starting 9:30 a.m. So that the reason why I'm doing that is it's not that I can't start by 10:30 a.m., but we've not covered, you understand? So but when we start by 9:30 a.m., we will end it by 12 a.m. or we end it by 11:30. We can cover a lot. That is the reason why for that. So, but I'm sorry for that, for not properly engaging you as regards to the change in time. But I promise that change in time from 9:30 to from 9 o'clock to from 10:30 to 9 o'clock is just for this period of March. By next month, which is April, we are going to go back to our normal time, which is 10:30 a.m. So just bear with me for these slight changes. Just bear with me. It's for our own good. It's not for my own personal motive or personal gain. It is for our own good. So please. So procedure for application for pioneer incentive. What are the procedure for application for pioneer incentive? What are the procedure or step involved on application for pioneer incentive? Number one is we said application must be made in written. Application must be made in written and submitted to who? To the NIPC in the first year of production. So that is number one step. Number two step or procedure is after the application, you have write application that you wish government should give you pioneer incentive on your product, on the product you manufacture. After that, you will now request a date. You will ask for a date where you are going to present your project to the NIPC. In your presentation, this presentation is just like you are doing a visibility study of your product that you want to produce in Nigeria. You understand? So this presentation, you will request a date to present the project to the NIPC. So that your presentation must cover the company overview, which means the brief history of the company. Secondly, the project overview. That means the project that the company want to embark on and the impact of the project on the economies too. You have to tell them in your presentation, and you have to tell them the financial analysis, the financial analysis, which means what fund is going to require, what fund does the company will need to execute the project. So that your request for date for presentation must state all this. After that, you now provide a project profile. You provide a project profile. That your project profile will indicate the kind of product you want to produce, which is pioneer product. Any product that pioneer certificate is issued on, that product is called pioneer products. And most of the products in which pioneer certificate is issued on is good manufacturing of goods. Those goods, those products that you manufactured is not selling of goods. Apart from products too, there are some services where pioneer product is granted. It's not only good or products. Pioneer product also contains services too. like services relating to IT, electronics, to pioneer status can be granted. So step 3, what I'm saying is, in this step 3, you provide your project profile. Your project profile is going to indicate the product you are producing, the industry that you belong, that your company belong, the share capitals too. And it is also to cover non-tangible current asset. That means your current asset too, the project will cover it. So that is step 3. Step 4. What is step 4? Step 4 is for you to provide, NIPC will provide feedback. After you do your presentation, you provide your project profile. NIPC will now give you a feedback that, this your company can go ahead with the application. Your feedback is, they will ask you to pay, request for payment of application fee and due diligence fee. They will request you, NIPC will request your company to pay for what? Application fee and what? Due diligence fee. How much is application fee? Application fee for pioneer status is 200,000 naira. Why due diligence fee is 500,000 naira? Application fee is 200,000. Due diligence fee is 500,000 naira. After payment of your application fee, once they receive your payment, the immediate thing that will ask you to do is to submit your application form. You will be given application form. After filling it, you will submit the application form with some supporting document. You will submit it to who? To the NIPC. That your application form with some supporting document, you will submit it to what? NIPC. So that is one of the steps. After that, NIPC will review your application form. They will perform legal, regulatory compliance check. You pay for due diligence fee. That means this due diligence fee, NIPC will now perform it on your company. They will go and carry out background check on your company by asking, by doing research at this company that want to apply for this pioneer certificate. Is it truly this company want to manufacture good, want to manufacture this product? Who are the directors of this company? Does this company engage in any illegal business before or any dubious contract before? So they will carry out background check on your company. After that, after the verification, and they will also visit your companies too. They will visit your company to look at the site that you want to use to operate, the location of your company. So do you have the necessary equipment in place? After that, after visiting your company, after doing the due diligence, once NIPC is certified that this company is good, it's not a dubious company, it's a good company, truly they want to engage in production of good, product manufacturing of some products, they cannot ask you, your company, to pay. They will ask you to request. They will request for a payment. That payment is called request for a payment of service charge deposit. Request for a payment of what? Service charge deposit. After payment of service charge deposit, once they receive your service charge deposit, the next thing that they will do is to give you approval in principle. Is to give your company approval in what? Principle. Upon payment of service charge deposit, NIPC will issue approval in principle to the company. That means they have certified that this company can enjoy pioneer incentive. After you now receive your approval in principles, they will now ask you to submit your part 2 of your application letter. That your application letter, part 2 of it is going to be submitted to Ministry of Industry. It is part 1 you submit earlier. The part 2 of your application letter form, application form, the part 2 is going to be submitted to Ministry of Industry under the Director of Industrial Inspectorate Department. So after submitting that, they review your part 2 of application form. They will now request you, they will ask you to choose a production day. One of the major issues or areas in pioneer incentive is called production day. Production day simply means the date when the date at which your pioneer period starts. The date that you start producing goods, or the date you start enjoying that pioneer incentive. That is production day. I want to ask a question. I would like to know whether you are following me or not. If your production day starts in 1st of January 2020, when will your pioneer certificate expire? Pioneer period, when is it going to expire? If your production day starts with January 2020, when is your pioneer period is going to expire?
December 2022.
December 2022. That means it will be 3 years by December 2022. Now, part of the step, upon determination of your production day, you have given them that this is the day you want your pioneer certificate to start, pioneer period to start. They will now issue a certificate to you. That certificate is called production day certificate. This production day certificate industrial inspectorate department, they are the one that will issue production day certificate to you. When they issue it to you, they will notify NIPC that this company, we have issued production day certificate to them. That means that production day certificate, the major thing is going to state when your pioneer period starts and when is it going to end. The copy of production day certificate issued by Industrial Inspectorate Department, the copy will be sent to NIPC. Once NIPC receives the copy of that your production day certificate, NIPC will now use that copy to prepare another certificate to you. That certificate that they prepare to you is called pioneer certificate. NIPC will now prepare another certificate, and that another certificate that will be issued to you is called what? Pioneer certificate. In your pioneer certificate, who is going to issue the pioneer certificate? NIPC. Who issue production day certificate? IID, Industrial Inspectorate Department, issued production day certificate. Why NIPC, Nigeria Investment Promotion Council, issued pioneer certificate? In your pioneer certificate, it will show when your pioneer period starts. It will also show the kind of product you want to be producing. It will also state during the pioneer period, what is your obligation? One of the obligation as a company during the pioneer period, one of your obligation is every year, if you make a profit during the pioneer period, you are going to pay a fee based on the profit you make. You are going to pay a fee. That fee is called annual service charge. And that annual service charge is 1% of your actual pioneer profit. The profit that you make during the pioneer period is called pioneer profit. So during that pioneer period, you are not paying company income tax, you are not paying education tax, you are not paying police development levy. What you will be paying only during the pioneer period, what you are going to be paying only is called annual service charge. And that annual service charge, how do we calculate it? It is 1% of the pioneer profit. It is 1% of the what? Pioneer profit. Your annual service charge is what? 1% of the pioneer profit. That is what you are going to be paying during the pioneer product. So the last step is for the NIPC to issue pioneer certificate to you upon receipt of production day certificate. NIPC will issue pioneer certificate to the company upon receiving production day certificate. Note that for a company to qualify for pioneer certificate, for a company to qualify that, give me pioneer certificate, your non-current assets must not be less than 100 million naira. If they add your land and building, plant and machinery, furniture and fitting, all motor vehicle, everything together, it must not be less than 100 million naira. If any company want to apply for pioneer certificate, their non-current assets must not be less than what? 100 million naira. That is one of the conditions for giving pioneer certificate. Now, the next area we should look at in this pioneer incentive is, the next area is called submission of annual performance report. Submission of annual performance report. During the pioneer period, which is 3 years, year 1, year 2, year 3.
Put down my own clothes and put inside nylon.
One of the obligations you have as a company is every year during the pioneer period, after the end of every year, you will be required to be submitting a report. That report is called annual performance report. That report must be submitted to the NIPC as well as submitted to FRS every year during the pioneer period, after the end of every year, which is 6 months after the end of every year. That means, assuming your pioneer status started from January 2021, your pioneer status started from January 2021. After the end of January, after ending of 2021, you need to submit annual performance reports of 2021. You must submit the report not later than June 30th, 2022. The annual performance report of 2021, you must submit it not later than June 30th, 2022. Now, what are the content of your annual performance report? What are the content of annual performance report? One of the content of your annual performance report you submit is covering letter. Covering letter addressed to executive of NIPC, Executive Secretary of NIPC. The covering letter must be addressed to Executive Secretary of NIPC. That is one of the contents. Part of the content is company project information. Company and project information. Another content of annual performance report is production performance. Production performance is part of the content of annual performance report. Financial performance too is part of the content of annual performance report. Financial performance. Aside from that, another content of annual performance report is number of employees and emoluments. Number of employees and emoluments. Number of employees and emoluments is part of content of annual performance report. Another content is training costs. Training costs. Training costs. Raw material and components too is part of the content of annual performance report. Export earnings and destination. What earnings, what revenue do you derive from the exports? And what are the destination? What country do you export the good to? It's very dependent. Infrastructural development developed. That company that was giving pioneer certificate, what are the infrastructure that the company do as part of their corporate social responsibility? What are the infrastructure that the company do and they developed? So all these are the content of what? Annual performance report. Now, what is the implication for non-submission of annual performance report? What is the implication for non-submission of annual performance report? So one of the implications is if a company fails to submit annual performance report, one of the implications is it can lead to cancellation of pioneer status incentive certificate. Cancellation of pioneer certificate. They will cancel your pioneer certificate, your company pioneer certificate, if they fail to submit annual performance report. Another implication is removal of the company name from the list of beneficiary. Removal of the company name from the list of what? Beneficiary. Then we remove the company name from the list of what? Beneficiary. In the website of NIPC, the list of companies that are benefit so far on pioneer incentive were listed in the website of NIPC. All the companies so far that have benefited from pioneer incentive, their name and their address and the product that they produce was listed in their website. So if a company fails to submit annual performance report within the pioneer period, that means they will remove their name from the list of beneficiaries. Another thing is notification to FRS for collection of taxes for the unexpired period. Notification to FRS for collection of taxes for the unexpired period. That means NIPC will send letter to FRS that this company, they are no longer a pioneer company. Please come and start collecting tax from them. Start collecting tax from them. They are no longer enjoying pioneer incentive. Start collecting tax from them. So those are the implications for non-submission of annual performance reports. Now, 1.5, issuance of certificate. What are the certificates that we issue? What are the certificates that will be issued during the pioneer incentive? Number one certificate that will be issued during the pioneer incentive is called production day certificate. Like I said, that one is issued by Industrial Inspectorate Department, which is fall under Ministry of Industries. Another certificate that will be issued during the pioneer incentive is called pioneer certificates. Pioneer certificates. Apart from these two certificates, there is another certificate that is also issued by FRS. The certificate issued by FRS is called Certified Losses Certificate. Certified Losses Certificate. You know, we said during the pioneer period, companies are not expected to pay tax on their profits. What if the company make a loss? The loss that they make during the pioneer period, what will happen to the loss? Any loss made during the pioneer period, the company has power. The company have to notify FRS that during this pioneer period for 3 years, we don't make profit, we make loss. They need to notify FRS. Once FRS certify the loss, that loss, you can carry it forward to the post-pioneer period. You can carry it forward to the what? Post-pioneer period. You can relieve this against the profit of the post-pioneer period. That means you can relieve it against the profit of the post-pioneer period. So, certificate of losses is one of the certificates also issued for a pioneer company. So, another area we should look at is cancellation of pioneer certificates. Cancellation of pioneer certificates. What are the conditions or situation that will warrant your pioneer certificate to be cancelled? What are the conditions or situation that will warrant a company pioneer certificate to be cancelled? Number one is where the production date is extended for more than 1 year later than the date stated in the company original application for pioneer certificate. Number one condition for cancellation of certificate, pioneer certificate, is where the production day is extended for more than 1 year later than the date stated in the certificate. Let me explain. If you are given a production day certificate to start enjoying the pioneer certificate 1st of January 2021, that was what is stated in the certificate, that your pioneer certificate, your pioneer incentive will start in January 2021. You as a company, you can write letter to NIPC and IID that, look, this date you say I should start my production, I should start enjoying my pioneer certificate, is not visible. One of the reasons why it's not visible is some of the equipment I want to use to be producing the goods in Nigeria, some of them is yet to arrive in Nigeria. So we want to import the equipment, but we are yet to receive them. We are still expecting them. So there is delay in production. So please help me extend my production day certificate. Your production day certificate, you can write letter for extension that, don't let my production day certificate start in 1st of January 2021 again. Please let it start maybe 1st of March 2021 or 1st of June 2021. But you can only extend for 12 months. If your extension is more than 12 months, your certificate, your pioneer certificate will be automatically cancelled. That means you are not serious as a company. However, there are some conditions where production day certificates can be extended for more than 12 months, and the certificate, the pioneer certificate, will not be cancelled. One of the reasons is where the extension of that production day certificate is as a result of conditions or factors that are beyond the control of the company. When the extension for more than 12 months is as a result of conditions or factors that are beyond the control of the company, that means your production day certificate can be extended for more than 12 months and your pioneer certificate will not be cancelled. Your pioneer certificate will not be cancelled in that regard. Example, there is a war between Ukraine and Russia. One of the components of equipment that you want to use to produce your goods in Nigeria will be imported from Ukraine. Because of the war between Ukraine and Russia, Ukraine government said, now there will not be any clearance of good for exportation to other countries. That means you cannot import good from Ukraine. You cannot import assets, your plant and machinery, your equipment that you want to use is coming from Ukraine. You cannot import it because of the war between Ukraine and Russia. And it is only Ukraine you can get that component of your plants that you want to use for production. With that, you can extend your production day certificate for more than 1 year. That condition, that factors that make you to extend it is beyond your own control. They cannot say because of you that you stop the war. No. But if that control is within the control of the country, of the company, and you are extending, you cannot extend more than 1 year. If you extend that more than 12 months, automatically your... Where... Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, class?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Number 2 condition for cancellation of certificates is where the value of qualified capital expenditure on the production day is less than prescribed minimum value applicable to the company. What is the minimum value of qualified capital expenditure a company must have before they can enjoy pioneer incentive? Who can tell me?
100 million.
100 million. 100 million. When your value of qualified capital expenditure, which is non-current assets, is less than 100 million, when the NIPC observe that, they will cancel your pioneer certificate. Another one is where the company, that pioneer company, apply for cancellation of certificates. The company that is enjoying the pioneer certificate, after 1 year, they now see that, this pioneer certificate, Gary, is of no essence. There is no value. when the company by themselves apply for cancellation of certificate, so your certificate will be cancelled. Another one is when the pioneer company, that company that is enjoying that pioneer certificate, pioneer incentive, when they contravene any of the provision. What are the provision? The law that guide pioneer incentive is called Industrial Development Act. The law that guides pioneer incentive is called Industrial Development Act. When it was observed that the company, that pioneer company, contravene any of the provision of Industrial Development Act, that one can lead to what? Cancellation of certificate. That is number 4 points. Number 5 points. When the company, that pioneer company, fail to submit what? Annual performance report. When the company fail to submit annual performance report, that means the certificate will be cancelled. So there are 5 conditions that can lead to cancellation of pioneer certificate. Number 1 is when the production day is extended for a period more than 12 months. This can lead to cancellation of certificate. Number 2 is when the company apply for cancellation by themselves. That pioneer company, they apply for cancellation. Number 3 is when the value of qualified capital expenditure is less than prescribed minimum value applicable to the company. Number 4, when the company contravene any of the provision of Industrial Development Act. While number 5, when the company fail to submit annual performance reports. This can lead to cancellation of certificates. Now, 1.7, condition for extension of pioneer period. If you want to extend your pioneer period after initial 3 years, how many years extension can be given? If you use to extend, how many years is the extension period? How many years
2
is the
years.
extension period? 2 years. 2 years is the extension period. So, what are the conditions that can, what condition will a company meet for the company to apply for extension of pioneer period? What are the conditions? If you want to extend for pioneer period, within 1 month after the expiration of the initial 3 years, you need to write application in written to the NIPC that you wish to extend. That application must be addressed to the NIPC, and that application must be given within 1 month after the expiration of the initial tax relief period. In your application for extension, you must state your particulars of capital expenditure incurred. That means your qualified capital expenditure, you must state the particulars. You understand? Another point, another condition, another requirement of your extension is you must state to the NIPC that what value, the initial period of 3 years given to you, what are the value that the company has created? What are the rate of expansion? What are the level of development or standard efficiency the company has contributed to the country? You must state that. You must also certify that the company, they make use of local raw material and they employ the citizen of Nigeria. That means they develop Nigeria personnel. They engage Nigeria personnel. They make use of local raw materials. You must state that in your requirements. So these are the requirements for extension of certificate. So the major area in this topic, this 1.8 is the cross of the matter in this topic. Is the cross of the matter in this topic. This 1.8. Tax incentive available to a pioneer industry or tax incentive available to a pioneer company. During that 3 years pioneer period, what are the tax incentives that that pioneer company enjoy? You can be asked, list or mention the tax incentive available to a pioneer company during the pioneer period. In this topic called pioneer incentive, we have 3 periods. We have how many periods? 3 periods. Number 1 period is called pre-pioneer period. Pre what? Pioneer period. Pre-pioneer period means the period that the company is doing business, is engaging in trading activities before they start enjoying pioneer certificates. Pioneer certificate is not necessarily given to a new company. It can be given to an existing company that has already in business in Nigeria. So it is not necessarily a new company can enjoy pioneer certificate. An existing company that has already doing business in Nigeria can also apply for pioneer certificates. Such existing company, they will have 3 periods. They will have pre-pioneer period, they will have pioneer period, and they will have post-pioneer period. Pre-pioneer period simply means the period that you are doing business before the pioneer status starts, before the pioneer incentive begins. That is pre-pioneer period. That is pre-pioneer period. Pioneer period or during pioneer period is the period that you enjoy that pioneer incentive, which is initial period of 3 years, which may be extended to additional 2 years subject to satisfactory performance. Post-pioneer period means after the pioneer period, when you now started your business, when you now back to your business again after the pioneer period. So, based on my explanation, for a new company that was just established and they want to apply for pioneer incentive, how many periods will a new company have? A new company, how many periods will a new company have?
Two periods.
Oh yeah, name the period.
Pioneer period and post-pioneer period.
Post-pioneer period. Why existing company will have how many periods?
3 periods.
3 periods. Pre-pioneer period, pioneer period, and post-pioneer period. Now, let's go to the cross of the matter. Cross of the matter. Tax incentive available to a pioneer industry or to a pioneer company. Number 1 tax incentive is the profit of a pioneer company during the pioneer period is exempted from tax. It's exempted from what? Tax. That means it's exempted from, we can say it's exempted from company income tax. It's exempted from company income tax. It's exempted from company income tax, education tax, and any forms of direct taxes. So I want to expatiate my point. Profit of a pioneer company during the pioneer period. That means during that pioneer period, which is 3 years, if you make profit, that profit will be exempted from company income tax, education tax, or any forms of direct tax, like police development levy or national information technology development agency levy. So that is number one tax incentive. Number two tax incentive is any amount of losses or net losses by the pioneer company during the pioneer period shall be available for relief, shall be available against other period. That means when you make a loss during the pioneer period, that loss we make during the pioneer period shall be available for relief in the post-pioneer period. Any amount of losses incurred by the pioneer company during the pioneer period shall be available for relief against profits, against any profits, in the post pioneer period. Any amount of losses or net losses incurred by pioneer company during the pioneer period shall be available for relief against any profit in the what? Post-pioneer period. Let me give example in an Excel. I want to open an Excel. For us to understand. Take, for instance, during pioneer period, during the pioneer period, year one, you make profits of 20 million. You make a profit of 20 million in year one. You make profit of 20 million. Year two, you now make a loss of 38 million. A loss of 38 million. Please, let's try to mute our audio. It's distracting our class. Please, mute your audio. Year three, you now make profit of 8 million. 8 million. Now, post-pioneer period. For the post-pioneer period now, what you need to do is to get your aggregated loss in the pioneer period. Aggregated what? Loss. Net loss. What is your net loss for the total pioneer period? That means you need to add the profit and loss together. Add everything together. That means your net loss or aggregated loss during that pioneer period is how much? 10 million naira. This 10 million naira must be certified by FRS. FRS must give you certificate certifying that you make this 10 million, you make a loss of this 10 million naira. After certifying the loss, you can carry it forward to the post-pioneer period. After you have enjoyed your pioneer period, the post-pioneer period now, you now bring the loss forward. Loss brought forward is now going to be 10 million naira. It's now going to be 10 million naira. So what we are saying in this second point is any amount of losses or net losses, that means aggregated losses, is not 38 million naira you will carry forward. It is 10 million naira. That is aggregated losses. Is my point clear? You cannot carry 38 million naira forward. No. You will remove the profit you make during the pioneer period from the loss. So if there is still any other loss, it is that loss you will carry forward to the post-pioneer period. And it's going to be relieved against the profit of the post-pioneer period. Let me give another example. Assuming my losses is 18 million. Look at it. My losses in year 2 is 18 million. Am I going to carry any loss forward? Is there any loss I will carry forward? I'm asking. My losses is 18 million. Is there any loss am I going to carry forward?
No, sir.
No, because at the end of the 3 years, you have aggregated profit, not loss. You can't carry anything forward. So that net loss we are referring to is the aggregated loss after you have removed all the profits, is when you are going to carry forward to the post-pioneer period. That is number 2 tax incentive available to a pioneer company. Number 3 tax incentive available to a pioneer company is the qualified capital expenditure incurred during the pioneer period. The qualified capital expenditure incurred during the pioneer period will not be subjected to capital allowance computation during the pioneer period. And they shall be deemed to have been incurred in the first year or in the first day of the post-pioneer period. What we are saying is, during the pioneer period, you don't pay tax. What will now happen if you now purchase qualified capital expenditure? Are you going to compute capital allowance? If you compute the capital allowance, can you say you want to remove the capital allowance from the profit? No. Since the profit is not subjected to tax, capital allowance is of no use. Since the profit is not subjected to tax, the capital allowance is of no use. So anytime you acquired qualified capital expenditure during pioneer period, such qualified capital expenditure you acquired during pioneer period will not be subjected to capital allowance. You will not compute capital allowance. You will now assume it was acquired in the first day of post-pioneer period. That means you will start computing capital allowance on that qualified capital expenditure you acquired during the pioneer period in the post-pioneer period. And the date you're going to assume they acquired the assets, the qualified capital expenditure acquired during the pioneer period, you are going to assume it was acquired in the first day of the post-pioneer period. Do you understand? Do you understand? Is my point clear? That is number 3, tax incentive available to a pioneer company. Another tax incentive available to a pioneer company. Provision of commencement rule, we apply. Provision of commencement rule is going to apply to the profits of the company in the post-pioneer period. That means after the pioneer period, the post-pioneer period, you are going to apply commencement rule. That means you are going to assume that the company commenced a new business in the post-pioneer period. After the expiration of the pioneer period, you are going to assume the company commenced a new business. And in assessing the company profit to tax, you are going to apply commencement rule. In assessing the company profit to tax, you are going to apply commencement rule. That means commencement rule will apply to the company in the post-pioneer period, and the profit will be subjected to tax based on commencement rule. It's part of tax incentive. Another thing we need to mention here is in the pre-pioneer period, for the pre-pioneer period, what rule is it going to apply to the pre-pioneer period before you start enjoying pioneer incentive? Pre-pioneer period. Who can tell me the rule that will apply to the profit of the pre-pioneer period? Since commencement rule apply to the profit of post-pioneer period, what rule is it going to apply to the profit of pre-pioneer period? Who can tell me?
Sir, please, can you come again? I didn't hear you well.
What rule is going to apply to the profit of a pre-pioneer period? I've said that the profit of post-pioneer period, commencement rule is going to apply to it. What of profit of pre-pioneer period? What rule is it going to apply to the profit of pre-pioneer period?
Cessation rule.
Cessation rule. If you have pre-pioneer period, the last year of the pre-pioneer period, the profit is going to be subjected to tax based on cessation rule. The profit of pre-pioneer period is going to be subjected to tax based on what? Cessation rule. Why profit of post-pioneer period will be subjected to tax based on commencement rule. So that's that. Another tax incentive available to a pioneer company. During that pioneer period, the profit made by the company during the pioneer period is called pioneer profit. That pioneer profit, if a company declare dividend from pioneer profits, that dividend declared by the company shall not be subjected to tax in the hand of the recipients. The dividend declared by pioneer company from the pioneer profits cannot be subjected to tax in the hand of the shareholder, which is the recipient. That means one of the profits that are exempted from, one of the dividends that are exempted from tax is dividend arising from profit of a pioneer company. That means the shareholder of pioneer company, if you want to pay them dividend, you will not deduct withholding tax from the dividend given to shareholder of pioneer company. You know, most of the company, when they are paying out dividends from the profit, before paying the dividend to the shareholder, they will deduct withholding tax. And that withholding tax deducted is a final tax. The withholding tax deducted is a final tax. However, in the case of pioneer company, when you paid dividend from a pioneer profit, that means if a pioneer company during the pioneer period paid out dividend from their profits, such dividends will not be subjected to withholding tax. So it's not going, frank investment income will not even apply to him at all. It will not be subjected to tax. It's part of tax incentive. So these are the tax incentives available to a pioneer company. There are 5. Please, let's try to know the 5 tax incentives available to a pioneer company. So these are the major things I think we should know. So 1.10, treatment of losses and capital allowance of a pioneer period. How do we treat losses during the pioneer period? I've said this already. If a company make a loss during the pioneer period, that loss must be certified by who? By FRS. And that loss can be available for relief against profit of the post-pioneer period. That means you can carry the loss forward to the post-pioneer period. However, one of the things that will make, subject to that, the loss that you make shall not be from as a result of payment of director fee, or you paid interest or similar charges made to interrelated company. That means what we are saying is, when they look at your account, they now see that one of your expenses is as a result of director fee and you are making a loss. FRS will not certify your loss. They have to add back that director fees. They have to reduce it from your loss, to reduce your loss. Or they now saw that you pay interest on loan given to you by one of your related company as an expenses. That expenses will be used to reduce the loss. The loss FRS will certify will be less than the one you reported because you are overstate your expenses. They don't allow that. Capital allowance. Like I said, no capital allowance will be claimed during the pioneer period. if a company acquire qualified capital expenditures during the pioneer period, the qualified capital expenditure will be deemed to have acquired on the first day of the post-pioneer period. Now, another thing we need to talk about is non-pioneer products during pioneer period. Non-pioneer products during pioneer period. Let me give an example. Dangote Petroleum Company were giving pioneer incentive to manufacture or to produce or refine crude oil to a final product, which is PMS and diesel, AGO. That product that was stated in the pioneer certificate is refinery of crude oil to PMS and AGO. That is the pioneer product. If during the pioneer period, Dangote refinery now started selling or producing non-pioneer products, that non-pioneer product, the profit made from that non-pioneer product will be subjected to tax. Example, let me give an example. A cement company was giving pioneer certificate to manufacture cement in Nigeria. Manufacturing of cement is the pioneer product. During the pioneer period, the cement company now said, there is shortage of raw material to produce cement. Let's start importing cement. They are not manufacturing again. They are now importing. That importation of cement, any cement that they import, is a non-pioneer product because they are giving a certificate to manufacture cement in Nigeria. If they now import any cement, that cement that they import is a non-pioneer product. Is what? Non-pioneer products. And they will pay tax on the non-pioneer product. That means what you need to tell them non-pioneer product during the pioneer period is, if during the pioneer period, a pioneer company deals with a product other than the pioneer product, any profit derived from such transaction cannot be exempted from tax. That means that profit will be subjected to tax. If a company deals with non-pioneer product, any profit derived from non-pioneer product is going to be what? Subjected to tax. Now, let's look at the list of pioneer products. Industry, and what are the products that they can produce? Let's look at the list of pioneer products. What are the list of pioneer products we have? Industry and the products they can produce. Industry and the product that they can produce. Number one of the industry that can be given pioneer incentive is called ICT, Information and Communication Industry. If the ICT company want to publish a book, or they want to develop software, or they want to deal with telecommunication or television production, these are the pioneer products that they can apply for pioneer incentive on. Another one is financial service. If a company engage in real estate investments, they can apply for pioneer certificates. Trading, e-commerce companies too can apply for pioneer certificates. Construction companies too can apply for pioneer certificates. Waste management companies too, they can apply for pioneer certificates. Agricultural companies too can apply for pioneer certificates. Electricity industry, they can also apply for pioneer certificate. Why the most common company that apply for pioneer certificate is manufacturing company that manufacture goods, like manufacturing of petroleum products, manufacturing of chemical, manufacturing of shoe, manufacturing of textile, manufacturing of cement, different products, manufacturing of starch, manufacturing of coffee, manufacturing of sugar. All these can also apply for pioneer certificates. So these are all what we need to know regarding pioneer incentive. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can now go to question as per pioneer incentive. We can now go to question. Let's try to look at a question. We start from question 1. Practice question 1. Somebody should help us read the practice question 1. Practice question 1.
ADV TAX Limited was granted a pioneer certificate with its production day as 1st July 2018. The following information has been obtained from its records. Accumulated profit as at 30th June 2021, 4,950,000 naira. Capital expenditure incurred during the pioneer period as certified by the FIRS as follows: building 2.4 million, plant and machinery 2,250,000, motor vehicles 1.5 million, furniture and fittings 750,000. After the end of the pioneer period, the company adopted 31st December as its year end, and the adjusted profits from the new trade were 6 months to 31st December 2021, 1.8 million. Year to 31st December 2022, 2.7 million. You are required to compute the tax liabilities of the company for the relevant year of assessment.
Thank you very much. ADV TAX was granted the pioneer incentive with a production date starting from what? 1st of July 2018. Since production date started from 1st of July 2018, when will the pioneer certificate expire? When is it going to expire? The pioneer period, that means it started 1st of July 2018. When is it going to expire?
30th June 2021.
30th June 2021. That means post-pioneer period will start in which month? 1st of July 2021. Abi? Now, this accumulated profit as at 30th June 2021 means that the profit that they make from the beginning of the pioneer period up to the end of the pioneer period. The profit for the whole 3 years of the pioneer period is given to us. This profit is not subjected to tax, like I said. The capital expenditure incurred during the pioneer period. When do we assume these capital expenditures was incurred? When are we going to assume it was incurred? We are going to assume this qualified capital expenditure was incurred first day of the post-pioneer period, which is 1st of July 2021. That means 2021, 1st of July. That is when they incur it. Now, look at the profit given to us. After the pioneer period, the company adopted 31st of December as at year end, and the adjusted profit is for the new trade is this. So that means the profit of the post-pioneer period that will be subjected to tax is given to us, the one of 2021, the one of 2022. For subjecting this profit to tax, we need to apply commencement rule. But for all, before we compute the tax liability of the company, which is the requirement of this question, we need to go to working note. Our working note is to compute capital allowance. Is to compute what? Capital allowance. If we want to compute capital allowance, we need to determine our year of assessment in this question. For the post-pioneer period, what will be our first year of assessment according to commencement rule? Our first year of assessment is going to be what?
2022.
Year of 2022. The basis period for that year, 2022 year of assessment, is going to start 1st of July 2021, Abi?
Yes.
To 31st December 2021. Now, let's go and compute capital allowance. Capital allowance. Working note. Computation of capital allowance. Building, plant and machinery, motor vehicle, furniture and fittings. These are the capital allowance that they have. Now, we know that for building, its own capital allowance, initial 15, annual 10. For plant and machinery, 50, 25, 50 initial, annual 25. For motor vehicle, 50, 25, 50 initial, annual 25. While for furniture and fitting, 25, 20. So my first year of assessment is going to be year 2022, not 2023, year 2022. That is my first year of assessment, year 2022. That is the first year of assessment. The cost of the asset for building, 2.4. For plant and machinery, 2.5. For motor vehicle, 1.5. For furnitures and fitting, 750. The initial allowance, 15% of 2.4, 360. 50% of 2,250,000, 1,125,000. Motor vehicle, 50% of 1.5, 750. While furnitures and fitting, 25% of 750, 187,500. That means my total initial allowance in the year 2022 is 2,422,500. 2,422,500. My annual allowance is going to be 6 months. 6 months. 6 months. Because the basis period in the year 2022 is 6 months. At the end of the day, my total capital allowance in year 2022 is 3,040,125. I will now go to my computation. My computation, the first year of assessment, 2022, the basis period, 1st of July 2021 to 31st December 2021. What is the adjusted profit? The adjusted profit for that period is given 1.8. The capital allowance we computed is what? 3,040,125. You know, Emini Ties is a manufacturing company. They manufacture ties. We cannot restrict this capital allowance. We don't restrict in a manufacturing company. That means the whole profit available, we are going to use it to claim to reduce the capital allowance. When you minus the whole profit, what is the profit available? 1.8. When you minus it from the capital allowance available, the capital allowance that will be carried forward is going to be 1,240,125. At the end of the day, when you minus the profit, you have used 1.8 as capital allowance. When you minus 1.8 from the profit, there will not be total profit again. Since all the profit, all the adjusted profit was used to reduce the capital allowance, there is no total profit again. Your capital allowance that you claim in the year is 1.8. Your profit is also 1.8. That means your total, your adjusted profit is also 1.8. That means your total profit is nil. It's nil. So my tax liability based on this, CIT, assuming 30%, 30% of total profit, nil. TET, 2.5%, 2.5% of adjusted profit. How much? 2.5% of 1.8. It will give us 45,000. So that is for year 2022 year of assessment. Year 2023 year of assessment. The basis period is going to be 1st of January 2022 to 31st December 2022. What is the adjusted profit? The adjusted profit is what? 2.1, 2.7. In year 2022, there's unrelieved capital allowance that you want to carry forward. You now brought it forward in the year 2021. The unrelieved capital allowance in year 2022 is 1,240,125. The capital allowance for the year 2022 is 785,250. At the end of the day, if we add two of them, 1,240,125 plus 785,250, the total will give you 2,025,375. It is less than the profit available. And they are manufacturing company. We don't restrict. That means the whole capital allowance, you are going to remove it from the profit. Since we have enough profit. When you remove it, your total profit, for the whole capital allowance, your total profit is going to be, after removing the capital allowance, your total profit is going to be what? 676,625. 676,625. That is your total profit, 676.65. Based on this total profit now, you can now compute your tax. CIT has 30%. CIT is computed on what profit? Total profit. 30% of 674,625, which will give you 202,387. 202,387. Why TET, education tax, 2.5% of adjusted profit. What is our adjusted profit? Our adjusted profit is 2.7 million. 2.5% of 2.7 million. It will give you 67,500. 67,500. That is your TET. That is the profit. That is the tax liability after the pioneer period. Like I said, during the pioneer period, they will not pay tax. Like I said, the qualified capital expenditure acquired during the pioneer period, we are going to assume they acquire it in the first day of the post-pioneer period, which started from 2022 year of assessment, where the basis period is 1st of July 2021 to 31st December 2021. And another thing we need to note is, in the second year, if you want to claim your capital allowance, how do you get your annual allowance in the second year? How do you get your annual allowance? You go back to the first year. You know, if I want to get my annual allowance in the first year, I will say, let me just put an Excel. If I want to get my annual allowance, take for instance, for building, 10% is the annual allowance. The initial allowance for building is 360. The cost is 2.4. If I want to get the annual allowance of this 102, what can I do? I'm going to say, I want to get AA. AA for building. For building. How do I get my AA for building? I will say cost. How much is the cost? Cost is 2.4. 2.4 is the cost. I will less initial allowance. Initial allowance is 3,060,000. If I less it, if I less the initial allowance, the balance remaining is 2,040,000. This 2,040,000, I will now say, let me divide it by 10. If I divide it by 10, because annual allowance is 10%, how do I get the divide? I divide it by 10. 100 divided by 10. 100% divided by 10%, it will give you 10. I will divide this by 10. If I divide it by 10, that means every year, the annual allowance on this building is going to be what? 2.4 for 12 months. And for the first year of assessment, which is year 2022, how many months is the basis period? How many months is the basis period? 6 months. 1st of July 2021 to 31st of December 2021. That is 6 months. So for me to get the annual allowance for the first year of assessment, I will say 6/12 times the annual allowance for the whole year. That means annual allowance for the first year for building is going to be 102. 102. In the second year of assessment, I will claim the full 12-month annual allowance. I'm going to claim the full 12-month annual allowance. In the second year of assessment, I'm going to claim the full 12 months annual allowance. How much is the full 12-month annual allowance? That is 204,000. 204,000. That is the full 12-month annual allowance. Do you understand? Do we have any question regarding this? Do we have any question? Any question? Now, somebody asks, what about the 1% from the profit during the pioneer period? Is it not liable to tax? That 1% is not paid to FRS. It's paid to NIPC. But we don't need to compute it. We don't need to compute it. We call it, that 1%, we call it annual service charge. It's not tax liability. The question asks us to compute tax liability. That 1% that the company paid on the pioneer profit during the pioneer period is paid to NIPC, it's not paid to FRS. And it is called annual service charge. It is not called company income tax or education tax. And the question asks us to compute tax liability.